Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
A few years ago, camping out in Guerneville, California. Campsite is built around an abandoned amusement park. Creepy as fuck. Campsite owners say they run a haunted house out of the old funhouse in October, but right now it's closed. With a fairly large group of people, now ex-girlfriend, sister, sister's boyfriend, a few other friends. My girlfriend had a super fucked up childhood, now overcompensates. We're looking around the abandoned park because ooh spoopy, there's an algae-filled pool with a rickety slide, an old frame for a roller coaster. We go inside the fun house even though we're not really supposed to. In one of the rooms we find a gun just sitting in the middle of the floor. Not a prop but a real fucking revolver pistol with a nail shoved through the firing pin, rendering it unfireable. Flash forward to that night. We're partying and drinking and whatnot like you do, sitting around the fire. My girlfriend gets shithouse wasted after challenging my sister to a drinking contest. Now, my GF was a serious drinker and I had seen that girl put away some legendary amounts of alcohol. Just for frame of reference. Girlfriend wanders off to go pee. The bathrooms were away from the campsite back towards the haunted funhouse. She's gone for a long time. I figured drunkie just got a little lost. She eventually comes back. The others had all wandered off somewhere. I am by myself by the fire. She seems different, way more inebriated than she was a second ago and acting really strange. As I said, she can handle her booze and I have never seen her like this before. She's acting really fucking weird. She's sitting just staring at the fire. Are you okay? Grunts in response. I go to check on her. Touch her shoulder, she suddenly growls fuck off and shoves me hella hard. Speaking in this guttural voice, she starts spouting off all this vile shit, talking about her grandfather who horribly abused her throughout her childhood, not at all something she readily talked about. Just spitting and snarling and staring into the fire the whole time. I'm just kinda stunned looking at her. In that moment of silence, my sister comes back to the fire. Sees GF visibly wobbling on her seat staring into the flames. Honey, are you okay? Girlfriend turns and vomits everywhere. Okay, guess not. I help her up and over to the bushes, helping her puke. I am asking her WTF was all that back at the fire. She slurs as she speaks, and in between puking she admits to me something she did. She was interested in Santeria, occasionally doing small rituals and the like. She tells me when she went to the bathroom she went into the haunted house, picked up the gun and held it in one hand as she held a flower in the other, and invited whatever spirits were there to throw at her whatever they could. Idiot. I get her into our tent and she immediately pukes all over our bedding. Great. Get all that out of the tent. Get her a bag to puke in. Then go back out to the fire, spending the rest of the night a bit shaken and pissed at her. Next morning she does not recall any of this, and is shocked when I tell her about the evocation she performed, even more so when I mention she was talking about her grandfather. I witnessed a legit possession, because her dumb drunk ass decided to sit in an actually haunted house and practically begged a malicious spirit to dig up her many demons. For mostly unrelated reasons we broke up not long after that, but that bullshit camping trip was definitely the last straw.
20 years ago, when I was 20 years old, I was renting a house with two friends. We were watching TV at like 3 a.m. one night and we heard something slam into the sliding glass door. We didn't think it was anything weird at first, though it startled us. We immediately went outside, thinking we would find a wounded bird or something. There was nothing. The backyard was totally empty. You could see the sliding glass door from the living room where we were sitting, so if there had been someone out there, we would have seen them running away. As we are standing there going WTF, we hear the faint sounds of a modem coming from inside. You know that weird modem handshake sound? We go inside, It's coming from the computer in the band practice room. We go in there. The computer is OFF. It is completely turned OFF. At this point we get really freaked out and grab onto each other like we are little schoolgirls. Eventually it stopped and we just ran out screaming. A few weeks after this, I was asleep in bed alone in the house, and I was awakened by the sounds of a woman sobbing. I was paralyzed with fear. I stayed in my bed with the covers pulled up, just listening to this crying sound. It goes on for what feels like hours. I am too afraid to get out of bed and seriously just lay there until dawn. I moved out shortly after that, but my friends that still lived there said that weird shit like that kept happening, including one of them seeing what appeared to be a human being with a dog's head in the backyard. When it noticed him, it climbed over the wall and ran away.
I have two that still scare me to this day. I've had night terrors and sleep paralysis problems my entire life. So waking up from a nightmare doesn't really faze me anymore. I just wait for my heart rate to calm down and go back to sleep. But about 15 years ago, I was sleeping in the spare bedroom at my grandmother's house. Her house had high windows that you couldn't see into from outside. I remember waking up and looking out the window. There was a man in a yellow rain hat just standing there. I could only see him from the shoulders up, and he was looking to the left, so I just saw him in a profile view. Then he just walked away. It wasn't sleep paralysis, because I was able to immediately jump up and run to my grandma. As I said, nightmares and sleep paralysis hallucinations barely bother me anymore. But this hat guy filled me with a fear like nothing I'd ever felt. Even to this day it fills me with dread. For a while, I thought it may have been the Hat Man, but I don't think there's ever been any sightings where he was wearing a yellow hat. And the second one, the other was about 10 years ago, when my family was driving up to Chicago. It was about 10 p.m., and we turned onto a completely empty street. The gas stations and stores were still lit up, and there were cars parked in parking lots and at the gas pumps, but there was nobody around anywhere. In the middle of the road was this ball of fog. My dad drove right into it. Immediately the radio turned to static. The car had one of those digital displays that tells you the song and artist and stuff, and it just started flashing random lines and dots. I literally watched the gas gauge drop from almost full to a little over half full in about 20 seconds. We were in that fog for about a minute, and when we came out everything was fine. There were also people and stuff like normal. When I looked back, you couldn't see anything past the fog. We stopped to fill up the tank, and it turned out half our gas had actually disappeared. I remember when we were going through, it felt like I was almost being hypnotized. My entire family remembers this in exactly the same way, so I wasn't dreaming or anything.
In January 2006, I am pretty sure I saw some aliens. So when I was driving from somewhere near Gentry to Huntsville to visit my grandmother, I passed Rogers and went through Hobbs State Park at around 4:45 a.m. I saw some lights that at first I thought came from a helicopter flying over, and due to how close the park is to the airport it seemed reasonable. Yet then I realized it was hovering, so tired I wanted to park on the side of the road and look at it more. Well, the moment I do that the lights disappear. I'm a bit spooked and begin to drive off, and I see 3 yellow lights charging from where the object was in my vehicle in the rear view mirror. I nope out of there and I see 1 golden light charging from my right just as I'm speeding out. It barely misses my Cherokee, and in that split second I saw it. It was like a centaur, but instead of a horse it was a lizard with legs sprawled out and all. It had this weird head that looked like a combination of a snake, human, and saber-toothed skull where the light was coming from. I also distinctly remember it holding some kind of spear, and the creature itself looked like it was in some gray suit. As I finally get away, I could see the lights disappear back into the woods. I didn't tell anyone. When I arrived at my grandmother's, she asked why I looked spooked. I just said I nearly got hit by a semi, and I was thoroughly chewed out. Didn't tell anyone else, and for a year I'd have night terrors.
I've only ever told my father and older brother this story in very small details, since to this day it's hard to talk about it fully IRL without getting a bit emotional, so I just don't waste my breath. But I'll tell it through text. Be 19-year-old me in 2007. Just Dad and I hopping from apartment to apartment renting because his recent divorce left him broke as F. Dad finds a 3-bedroom house for lease. Cheap and completely furnished. Backyard has pool with jacuzzi waterfall. Too good to pass up, we take. Find out during a tour of the home that homeowner who passed in the master bedroom. Older sons of the woman who self-ended needed quick money, so they leased it out for cheap. We don't care. Not superstitious. Dad takes the master bedroom and gives me the 2 rooms on the opposite side of the house. Weeks later, Dad gets a call that one of my uncles fell ill and needs immediate surgery. Dad schedules a trip the next morning, leaving me alone in the house for the next several days. It's summer. Have a pool, jacuzzi, $100 and some weed. I can't wait. Dad leaves. Following day, I'm now completely home alone. Later that evening, get baked and chill in the jacuzzi listening to music on iPod mini. While looking around being paranoid about nosy neighbors, I notice that the master bathroom window, made of frosted glass, is facing the backyard and the light is on. Oh fuck, Dad's home. So completely deep-fried it finally hits me that Dad isn't home, he left today. Dad likely forgot to turn the light off on the way out early that day. Minutes later I get a call on my flip phone. It's the GF. Nerves settle down. Chat with my GF for a few minutes and suddenly something moves in my peripheral. It's coming from that bathroom window. Turn down music. Stand up from the jacuzzi and focus on the window in silence while your GF keeps talking. Take the phone off ear to concentrate. Something moves again. This time I see it. Tell GF what I'm seeing. Tell her to hold tight while I go and check it out. I put the phone down and get out. Walk towards the window. Notice that what is moving is indeed a person. Chill goes through my spine and my high goes away. Frozen still and heart racing, I can make out the figure of a woman. Shoulder length, curly hair. Judging by her gestures and hand movements, I can tell she's talking to herself or someone. But I hear nothing. I walk backwards towards the jacuzzi to get to the phone. Check your phone. GF hung up. 5 minutes pass and the woman is still in my dad's bathroom. I can see her. I'm afraid of walking into the house. I don't move. A few minutes pass by and finally, I notice the figure move towards the direction of the bathroom door. I quickly run towards the living room window, trying to peek through the tiny holes and slits through the blinds. Nothing. Restless and cold, I muster enough courage to get back inside. Making a beeline towards my room. I open the back door and quickly walk to my bedroom. The house smells different. Like perfume and fresh cut flowers. I lock the door and dry myself off with a towel and change. Fuck it, I'm sleeping without a shower. Fall asleep with the lights on. That night I dream of walking out of my bedroom and into the master bedroom. I can see the woman inside the bathroom, only this time in clear view. She's talking with her hands and lips staring at the bathroom mirror. The same way I saw her do from the other side of the window. I can't hear a word she's saying. Completely mute. I look around further in the bedroom and see my dad sleeping on the bed. When I turn back around to see the woman, she's directly in front of my face and says, "Anon." I wake up in a cold sweat only to find out I've been asleep for only 20 minutes. I stayed awake that night and for the longest I've ever been awake to this day. 3 days. All the while smelling the aroma of perfume and flowers in random spots throughout the house. No noises, no knocks. Just the feeling of a presence and her smell.
I was home alone in my sister's house and was just on the edge of sleep but not totally asleep yet. I was woken up by bright blue light coming in the window at the foot of my bed. Extreme panic rushed through me and I vividly remember thinking, no, this can't be happening to me. I remember trying to make a run for it through my open door, which is on the same wall as my bed and directly to the right of my bed, but I couldn't move right and the action was more me falling out of my bed. The last thing I remember seeing on my way down is the face of a 4-foot-tall figure. Its face was heavily wrinkled and it had huge black pit eyes. It had a scowl and deep wrinkles between the brow and underneath the ends of its frowning mouth. It looked mean and very unhappy with me. I remember a distinct blackout. There was a very quick and distinct line between visual data and just nothing, which I've never experienced in any dream in my entire life. I remember shooting awake and feeling very uneasy later that night. Everything in my room in this dream was positioned exactly as it is in real life. It did not feel like a dream. Thinking back on it now, as it was only a year or two ago, there was a 6-month period where I had weird vision problems and extreme anxiety. My vision wasn't blurry, but something was off that I couldn't put my finger on, and I had heart palpitations that were so bad I'd wake up at night.
Pick entirely unrelated, but all bite. Not very crazy, and I can't remember every detail of this adventure because I still try to convince myself everything that happened was coincidence or just imagination. This all starts when I was 14 and lasts until I was almost 16. Be me, 14. Summertime, so obviously stay up late playing COD every single night. About 2 a.m. Dad is at work, mom is asleep, house is locked up. No siblings. Halfway through shower when very loud and clear. Mom knocks on my door 3 times. Yeah, what's up? Asterisk knock 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 PT. 2. Asterisk, WTF. Cut water, dry off a little, open door. Cat is standing in doorway across the hall, hair standing up, eyes wide. Other than that, nobody is there. Decide I'm off my rocker for whatever reason and go back to showering. Knock 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 PT. 3. What the fuck? Finish quickly, get dried off and dressed. Step out expecting to catch my mom trying to spook me. Her bedroom door is closed, can hear snoring through door. Wake her up and tell her, she doesn't believe me and says I'm trying to fuck with her. This is where I should point out a big point in this story. The house I've grown up in is directly across the street from a relatively old cemetery with graves dating back to 1903, oldest death date I've found on a stone. I also can't fail to mention that just 2 months prior to this, my family went through the death of a maternal grandfather and fraternal grandmother in 1 month. The next occurrence with the paranormal happens about a week later, and luckily my mom experienced this one with me. Going through the process of helping grandmother clear out my grandfather's room. Tells me to take anything I want, she doesn't want all his antiques and things laying around being painful memories. Oblige. Take a few things I remember from my childhood. I was fairly close with my grandfather from a young age. In particular, take the things I want the most. His small mantle-sized grandfather-style clock built in 1890. A fire truck toy from the 30s, lead paint and all, and most importantly, this racist-ass piggy bank from way back. Clock does not have the key that is used to wind it up, rendering it basically useless. At this point I take it just because it means something to me. Keep in mind, the clock is stopped at 12 o'clock on the dot. It doesn't work because can't wind it. Fast forward a week around same time as previously, right about 2 a.m. Most heavenly but also most scary ass horror movie sound comes wailing from my living room, clock starts donging. Rush in, knowing exactly what's about to be seen. This clock, which is now sitting on my mantle, is going wacky, hour and minute hand spinning around and of course making the classic grandfather clock sounds. Freaked out but interpreted as my dead grandpa fucking with me, stupid move. Stops after about 5 minutes and I go to sleep soon after. Remember very specifically dreaming that night. I wouldn't necessarily say nightmare, but scared me shitless, needless to say. Dream of being little sitting in my grandfather's lap, almost like reliving a memory. He brings out the little racist piggy bank, puts a coin in his hand, pulls his ear. Eyes roll back and he eats coins. Repeat a few times, I'm laughing. Maybe 3 or 4 years old in my dream. He places it back in his safe with some other knick-knacks and kicks it. Ask why he locks them away.
Well, this little guy doesn't like being left out and likes to cause trouble.
End of dream. Nothing crazy happens for a few months but continually dream of this damn piggy bank. Dreams get worse and worse and eventually I put that little shit in my gun safe where he sits to this day 5 years later. Dreams subside soon after. I'm gonna pause the story here for 2 reasons. 1. To say that thing still scares the shit out of me, but I can't make myself get rid of it. You get this eerie fucking feeling just being around it like it's staring through your soul, man. 2. This story does get better and it's about to take a turn for the worst. Even with a little black boy locked up, things are still strange. It gets to the point where it seems like at least once a week something happens to me or my mom. Dad is still very skeptical, calling us stupid and crazy, whatever he feels. My mom, having recently lost her father, believes my house is now haunted by him. Discovers the flashlight communication shit that they use on Ghost Adventures. Shit actually works. If you don't know what this is, basically you take a twist on flashlight and turn it until it is almost flickering on and off. Then set it somewhere and do the usual. Turn the light on for yes, leave it off for no. She gets really into this, thinking she's talking to her father. Quickly realize her father is not one of the spirits in my house. Yes, spirits plural. Communication through flashlight is almost instant, works insanely well. There is no coincidence here, the light gives intellectual answers. For example, what is 2 plus 2? And light flashes on and off 4 times. Discover there are 18 spirits that haunt my property. Youngest one is a boy of 8 who loves playing pranks. Apparently he is the one who knocked on my bathroom door around 6 months prior. Oldest of them is 89 and was a World War I combat veteran. We ask regularly if any of them mean harm, and they always say no. This goes on for a while until, eventually, that question is answered with the light flickering on and off for about 5 seconds. Figure light is fucked up, so mess with it a little until it works properly again. Ask again, does anyone here wish us or this property harm? Light comes on instantly. Well, the gig's up, boys. Decide for some reason to keep asking this spirit questions. Learn that he was 19 at death. He knows he's dead, and that he stabbed someone to death about a mile from my house back in the day, never narrowed this date down. Says he lives in a well around the area he killed the guy. Says he was never caught by police. Also says he doesn't regret what he did. It was at this point we decided to stop fucking with the ghosts. We asked one night if everyone could just stop coming into our home, and things seemed to settle down a lot. Almost a year passed before anything else happened. Be me, summer after my 15th birthday. Back on my Xbox shit, all night long. Buddies all go to sleep. About 4 o'clock in the morning, sun starting to come up just a little. In Xbox Live Party alone. Hear a very familiar but distant noise in my house. Recognize this sound as the goddamned printer. WTF. Go in the office of my house and see this shit. Paper all over the floor, spitting from the printer. All of them say one thing, and I can write it exactly as it was on the document. One line across the top of the page, on about 5 pages that had spat from the printer. There's a hole in the bucket. Both computers in the house are off. Fuck me. Show mom. Dad thinks I'm looking for attention at this point. Turns out she has some new self-proclaimed paranormal investigators, witch friends. Says she's calling them to come investigate or whatever. 1 week later, 5 middle-aged women show up to my house at 10 p.m. Come inside with bags on bags of shit. Unload everything. Ouija boards. Dice. Things that look like modified playing cards. A box that makes static sounds, called a ghost box. I learned recently, they start fucking around. Set up all this voodoo Blair Witch type shit in my kitchen. Start using Ouija. I'll see if I can find the photos of their Ouija journal thing that night, but I think they're gone in my broken old phone. Learn a few things. My house is a hotspot for good spirits from the cemetery. The smell of food attracts some. Our lives attract others. Described as a kind of TV show for spirits to watch in on as they have nothing else to be a part of. Some come to rest. Some come to visit. One of the spirits steps forward to speak for the group through the Ouija board. Says they will leave if asked. Says they are sorry for scaring us. This is where things get a little more wild. This MF gets the Ouija privilege smacked away from him, Kanye versus Taylor Swift style. Speaking to a new entity at this point. Says his name is Harold. Says he's stuck in a time loop. Begs for help, doesn't know how to leave. Not much more interesting happened that night. The investigators did some kind of cleansing ritual and we haven't had much happen since then. Every once in a while I still see shadows or hear things, and that damn non-functioning clock still goes off occasionally. There are a few other things I leave out of this, but due to this dragging on longer than expected, plus lack of interest, I'm gonna dip out now. If anyone would like to hear them, I'll be lurking the thread. Honestly, they can be summed up relatively quickly. Loud clap of hands right behind my head followed by a child giggling. The exact same thing happened to my mom. Knocks on doors were not out of the ordinary. After dark, constant feeling of being watched, especially in the other end of my house nearest to the cemetery. Seeing shadows pass through walls and doorways was common. Almost certain I saw one wave to me once as he passed by in the edge of my eyesight. TVs changed channels constantly on their own. TVs would turn themselves off. I always took this as the ghosts not being happy with what we were watching. Had a toilet flush itself 2 times that I recall. Things being misplaced, usually food items. Stuff hopping shelves in the fridge. Cabinet doors being left open in the kitchen, etc. Hearing old music through the vents of my house, but I've half written this off to just hearing my neighbor's music next door. Hearing very clear and normal conversations in other rooms. I'd specifically heard a convo between 3 people about the Dallas Cowboys on one occasion. Shit was crazy for a while, but honestly it became normal everyday stuff to me. I never felt in danger or really even uncomfortable. I would get spooked when caught off guard occasionally, and if something happened with a friend over they would definitely always be spooked. It was just a part of life for me for a couple years.
Horrible at storytelling, but here it is. When I was 16 I saw something. Alien ship. Government ship. Not a ship but a living thing. Who the fuck knows, but I'll tell ya the story. 1997. Orlando International Airport. My sister was visiting from Michigan and we went to pick her up. There was a crazy fucking Florida storm going on. Getting worse as it got late. Lots of lightning strikes and heavy rain. They canceled tons of flights while we were waiting on her luggage and shit. Well, we left. As we were leaving the airport we got stuck in traffic. I was sitting in the back looking out the back window of the car, just awestruck by the lighting. When it would flash I could see the storm clouds. Super cool. Not a plane in the sky and no one taking off either. There was a flash and I saw something in the clouds. Shape was hard to tell, but it was big, like a plane-sized. So I thought it was a plane. Another flash and it was still in the same fucking place, near the same cloud. I felt a chill at this. I literally saw something just hanging in the air. It didn't move for a few lightning strikes. I was frozen. I couldn't even tell my mom or sister. I didn't even think about talking. I was just watching it. Suddenly it got bright enough to see outside of lighting flashes. Like it was surrounded by light, not that it had lights. It jerked one direction fast, like super fast, and came to an abrupt halt. It didn't slow down, it just stopped. Point A to point B within seconds. It jerked closer to where it had been before. It only stayed there momentarily before going even farther off, this time away from me. The previous movements had been left to right from my vantage point. All of this happened so fucking fast. Suddenly it was coming towards me and up. Before I knew it was gone, I couldn't see shit. That zigzag pattern, how fast it was, and how it was able to just stop instead of slowing. I will never forget that night.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.